Hey everybody, on today's episode I'm sitting down with Ryan Morrison. Ryan is one of my favorite designers, most talented designers I know, and he's so young that's just unbelievable. We're doing a deep dive case study on how he's working as a brand designer for Webflow, and he's going to show us how Webflow's brand and their website evolved, and with each redesign that they did over the years, it's going to be very, very interesting to look at their learning, and I'm sure you'll learn a lot from it. Let's rock and roll. Hi Ryan, what's up? Thank you for hosting me in your beautiful Webflow studio.
Of course, anytime.
So Ryan is the brand designer for Webflow, one of my favorite designers, and over the years I've been following Webflow. The website and actually the brand has changed multiple times, from dark to light, and kind of the feel of the brand has evolved over the years. And I thought it would be interesting to go over each kind of redesign that you guys did and talk about what led some of the design decisions and the development of the brand over the years.
Yeah.
So how about you take us to when you joined Webflow, what was the situation, what was the design back in the time, and what were you trying to achieve with the first redesign that you did?
Cool, yeah, totally. So when I joined Webflow, we didn't really have the idea of a brand design yet. It was done by product designers that were just like, hey, we need to redo the site, let's figure it out. So when I joined, there was for sure intent, but I think there's kind of like a missed opportunity for understanding the customers, what they're looking for, and how the site should respond to that. So when I came in, we never actually showed Webflow. My girlfriend at the time tried to understand where I was going to be working and was like, what is it? What does this actually do? Like, what does it look like? Not that she was the core of why I made the change, but what I ended up doing is showing the product. That was really powerful. People really wanted to see what this tool was, what it can do, and so we just showed. We just did like a screen recording, right? And people loved this. People understood it. People went into the site and duplicated it and made it their own portfolios. It was kind of a huge moment of understanding.
So how do you? Was that just like a gut feeling? People don't understand what this is because my girlfriend told me. How about we do a time lapse of the product? I mean, was there anything behind that, or was it basically just?
It was just that. No, okay. Just kidding. At the time, we didn't do a whole lot of user research, but I would talk to friends. I'd talk to people internally, right? There was this common understanding that it was a mistake to have not really shown what this product is, because designers are kind of used to that with their tools.
Did you have, when you did this redesign, some kind of strategic goals? Were you measured in terms of, hey, we need the new website to convert better, or something like that, or provide better leads, or was there anything like that at all, or was it just like, hey, dude, we need a better website. Do a better website, please.
So for context, I joined when Webflow was about 24, 25 people.
Okay.
I think, yeah. We're now 6 times that.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're more mature now. We definitely paid attention to conversion, but that was not much of a goal. A lot of it was me and Barrett, who was leading the content of the site, just collaborating and figuring out how we could best tell the Webflow story. And user testing and those types of insights came a little bit later on in the process.
Got it. So in terms of brand, were you committed to some kind of colors, typography, or you were just let me do what I think is good? How did you came up with those decisions about what the Webflow brand should be like?
Yeah, that's a good question. This site iteration is actually what defined what the brand is today.
Okay.
There's a lot of pages that were created, with this homepage that are still up now. We're redoing them, but they've lasted for a long time. And this is when Webflow Blue was created. This is when we chose to use graphic as our font. There's a lot of decisions made that have stuck around. I would say, they were created largely out of necessity. We didn't have subcolors. Our old blue was very dull. It wasn't very interesting.
Can you scroll a little bit just so we can see this?
Yeah.
Besides
So I'll go back to the old page too. So we didn't really have a core brand color here.
Yeah, I see lots of different
The
colors.
teal,
right?
what came out, we're using like a lot of teal and different blues. I think this kind of background blue was more or less our brand color at the time.
But yeah, tons of different colors.
But it wasn't very unique,
yeah.
right? So the blue that I ended up choosing was, and some people call it purple. It's very, very in that
Depends
that
on
realm.
your screen, though.
Exactly. I want to stand out. Like Webflow is different, where it's not like other tools, other tech companies. Like we're something new, and so that was kind of like the background for this color. Is like I've never really seen this before. And I'm sure it has existed, and I'm sure it exists today with other brands, but it was really like an attempt to stand out.
Yeah, got it. Did you have to like justify it in some kind of like design decisions, or like?
No.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You're very lucky.
I think it was a very small design team at the time, and I had a lot of trust. So I did iterate on putting together different palettes, putting together different fonts with different colors, different kind of layouts. Like I definitely explored those options. I didn't just like kind of spit this out one day, but at the end of the day, it was kind of up to me to feel what was right.
Yeah, this feels like
Yeah.
much more cohesive. Where did the illustrations came from? Because that's definitely new in this version.
Yeah, I mean, I had previously done my first project here was actually the IX2 teaser page.
Got it.
And that was kind of like the first, I think, illustration for what Webflow for a long time, and for that, I kind of like tried this illustration with stroke style, and that just seemed to work, and I kept going with it, and so I ended up doing just all of the illustrations. This actually came a little bit later. This is kind of like a V2, but like these types of illustrations all were kind of born at that time.
I remember I actually first saw them at the blog, on the blog. Is that correct, or like?
Our blog, yeah. Gosh, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I know that right before I joined, we were using like stock illustrations.
Got it.
And then I was tasked with like redoing them all and adapting like a style that we can reuse. Where we kind of went in this direction too. A lot of like gradients and pops of color.
So when you decided to use these kind of illustrations, was that kind of like a commitment for the brand for now every blog post we're going to have to do illustrations for them, or think about that in kind of a more brand system type of way?
Yeah, so really we did more photography for the blog, as my thinking at the time was, what's a system that will be really fast and easy to repeat?
Got it.
And so we can actually go to the blog. They're all just photography, usually, with a color overlay. Like we'll do custom graphics here and there, right?
It.
But at the time it was
this is what I remember.
Yeah, we're doing more and
of
more
like
of this
yeah.
nowadays, yeah. But back when I had to do like 200 of them and then do like 5 a week with other projects, it was like, how can I just do this quick?
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. So so this is actually version number 2, or let's say this is the first iteration that you did. What led to the next phase of this? Let's move to the next phase.
Yeah. Next tab. So this page was built in collaboration with JP, who was kind of the first kind of other brand designer, which was an exciting time for sure. But it was with the goal of going after the freelance designer community, as we were we were understanding that was who our target audience was at the time.
Okay. So how did that influence the decisions?
So it was looking at the types of work that they liked to do, both with our product or without, just the design community, what they're interested in, and also fitting into design tooling at the time. You know, it was dark backgrounds were the thing. Big type, cool interactions, but then also thinking through like, what makes Webflow unique, right? It's being able to do this kind of wild stuff. And that was really JP's specialty, is like making really wild animation work with Webflow. That's why we hired him, So it was really trying to appeal to you, a freelance designer, can make this really interesting, new, fresh web design.
Got it.
Yeah.
So basically, there's a lot of, I would say, new brands. This feels a little different with the bold type. the dark background, as you said. So from what you said, that sounded like we saw what's trending at the moment and we said, hey, let's try and use that. So is that just like a natural progression of the brand, or like how did you see that?
How did we decide upon like that direction? Yeah,
exactly.
So it was thinking through, you know, like what we saw in the world, but how we could make it our own still. And so it was, you know, let's use big type, let's use black backgrounds, let's use wild animation, but let's do it in a way that's uniquely Webflow still. And try to look a little bit more premium, look a little bit more crisp. You know, this is a pro tool for professionals. That was kind of like a thing I said probably 90 times is this is a pro tool. It should look like a pro tool. It should look like the old like iMac Pro site, right? Or sorry, the Mac Pro site. This like beautiful black product that was like had really cool scroll interactions, right?
Got it.
That was kind of a big influence for sure.
Yeah. So this, I feel like, kind of shows more of the product with the experience versus just like with kind of a video or something like that.
Yeah, like this is trying to tell somewhat of an abstract story without being like an actual screen recording. But in doing so, it's showing the capabilities of the product, since this is, of course, all built with Webflow.
So one quick kind of tactical question.
Sure.
In the last two versions, you had kind of a different sign-up form, and that looked like you changed the approach to the sign-up or to the call to action. Can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, or it's not specifically brand related. I know it's kind of more like
it's
user
design,
experience,
you know,
but yeah, it's design decision, which I feel is interesting. Like, because if it worked for the past two versions, why did you decide to experiment with that?
Yeah, so that was not something I knew a lot about, and so I didn't try to invent anything new. We knew that it worked, and so we kept doing it. We did A/B test, I think, 2 other layouts, and it just didn't perform as well. So we're just like, hey, let's stick with it, you know. When we did this iteration with the sign up form alone, the idea was that we would get more people starting on the process, so we can capture an email, follow up with them. Excuse me. But then, you know, automatically fill their email with the next page, and they can, you know, follow up there.
Yeah, break the sign-up process.
Yeah, break it up a little bit. You have more sense of completion over time, and less of this like daunting 3 fields and then a button. It's like simple, you know, small.
All right. So, what was the next step after that?
Next step, yeah, very different.
Very different.
A new era of Webflow.
Yeah.
Break the code barrier.
What's up here? What happened to the time lapse?
I don't know, man. Where'd it go?
What happened to the form? What happened to everything?
We learned a lot.
Okay.
We learned a lot, and we are, you know, going after a different audience with different goals.
Okay.
And so this was, and I'll say this page was done in about 4 days.
Okay.
Yeah, that was fun.
Can you scroll a little bit?
Yeah,
just
yeah.
to give us a little bit of,
Yeah. So you'll notice a lot of things being very different. This page is story driven. It's talking about the benefits. It's talking about, you know, before the old page had design, build, launch. Now it's build, launch, grow, and it's talking about the evolution of a site that, you know,
this
Lattice,
looks
that business
much
sites can.
much more corporate or business oriented.
It's more businessy for sure, and that's okay. It's kind of what we're understanding is needed at this time. You know, we realized that maybe 3 or 4 years ago, Webflow wasn't the best tool for a team, but we're realizing now that teams are getting a ton of benefit from us. So teams like Lattice are like doing amazing design work with Webflow with their marketing team, and we want to do more of that.
Got it.
Yeah.
So has the focus changed? Like it's like from freelancers to bigger businesses, and did that dictate the more, I don't know, B2B or more corporate brand or?
So it's realizing that we were alienating a certain audience.
Got it.
You know, the old site was not super performant. It was loved by designers, but hated by most other people.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And so this was an attempt to be more inclusive of other audiences. And, you know, this can run on a Chromebook and not, you know, it'll be 60 frames per second, you know.
Okay.
And bring a lot more focus to the content that is necessary and is like most important, right? then you'll notice like we have a button now, not a form. It's,
right.
The current iteration it's a pop-up form too. And we found that converted like much better than sending people to a different page and completing a form there. So we're doing a lot more testing now. We're doing a lot more research, and we're designing with a lot more intent.
Got it. It looks like you've kind of, first of all, went from black to white, and you've actually elaborated on why is that. But you've also kind of expanded the colors palette, right? I mean, last 2 iterations was mainly black and blue. Now I can see the other pastel colors.
Yeah, so past pages were largely monochromatic. The homepage was typically the blue with the black. Designer page with like red and black, same as purple and black. Here we're exploring like what's used more than one color on a page, right? But it's also adapting colors to a different section. So this one was a little bit arbitrary, but the other colors were an attempt to kind of highlight the examples being shown and use a little bit of that brand here.
Got it. So how do you feel about, as a brand designer, do you feel like a brand should be something that is kind of like fixed and coherent over time, or do you feel like it's fluid and you can experiment with making it broader, wider? Like, what's your perspective?
My favorite question.
Yeah.
So good. It should absolutely not be a static thing that maybe has chunks of evolution. I fully believe in constant iteration. That,
but you not feel that it might hurt the consistency or memorability of the brand?
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, it is a little bit harder to keep things cohesive when you're making incremental changes with every new design, and then when you look back a year, you're seeing like it's different. It's not largely different, but there's inconsistency. So you do need to go back sometimes and bring things up to the current standards. And that's part of having a design system. It's part of having a team that can understand the importance of consistency. It's trade-offs.
Yeah.
Like, I've since day one, I've never wanted to just have this is the new brand and this is what it's going to look like until we do another rebrand in 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, I've never wanted to just do 2-year cycles. It's not fun.
Yeah.
Because then you have to redo everything, you know.
So at this point, you're starting to build a whole design system that you showed me. Do you feel like this is also something that's going to be kind of a work in progress? Or
Absolutely, absolutely. We're in like V1 of Webflow brand design system. We're actually thinking about trying to work more closely with the product team on a Webflow design system that includes marketing, dashboard, product, all of that in one. But for now, it's like it's a working document, right? It is a Webflow site, but it's something that we're changing all the time and improving upon. As, for instance, like it's only more recently that we changed the homepage CTA to be a button instead of a form.
Yeah.
And so we went back into the design system and edited that. We're trying to be more accessible, so there's going to be work done in the future that will be, making sure that all colors are accessible. And that'll be something we go back and just make those changes where necessary.
Got it.
Yeah.
So how long is this website live?
This has been live since August.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when do you feel is the next iteration? Do you have that like scheduled, or is it just based on need?
It's based on need. This was actually, it just so happened that it had to do with our funding announcement in August as well.
Okay, got it.
And so it was an attempt to make sure that the story we were trying to tell as a company was being cohesive across the site, across the Forbes article, across our blog posts, all that. It wouldn't make any sense to say some of the things we did in other places and then come to a homepage that's talking to freelance designers.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So you have no clue what is the next iteration?
I'll let you know.
I'm excited. I love to see the progress, and I think this is really getting more, maybe mature is the right word, but I think it's really interesting to see the phases that you're going.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a quick one. I'm very interested in not just doing incremental tests on the hero of the site, but try a bunch of different options for what a whole homepage experience could look like and how that works with different audiences.
So I'll get back to what you said. You said this website took 4 days for you to design and implement, or just design?
Just like
Design.
To me, design is building and design.
Got
Yeah,
it.
I don't think I used any other tool for this. It was just
Oh, really? You do not work with Figma or Sketch to even plan?
Not that I have anything against people that do, but I find myself getting annoyed to have to like drag things around when I'm gonna go and then like do the real thing later. It's like
For me, it doesn't work that way, but
Yeah.
it's interesting.
It's all good. It's all good.
All right, Ryan, thank you so much
course.
for sharing your process with us. It's
Anytime,
been
man.
super, super helpful. See you on the next video.